Now, friends, today I will be addressing you on 4 issues. I want to address the issue of our missing persons and the sanctions that are falling. I want to address another issue on the supplementary budget, and I will also address the controversy that was generated by regime propagandists trying to take the interview that I had recently on BBC out of context. First of all, I am back in the country from a long trip, and I thank God that all went well. I want to remind the nation that we are still firmly pursuing the issue of our missing people. More than 18 families are missing their people. People were abducted, they continue to be abducted, but most importantly, there's a group of 18 people that are notoriously missing, that include comrades like Chibalama and many others. We thank the people of Uganda that have relentlessly demanded for those people. We want to thank our parliamentary team led by the noble Honorable Matthias Impuga for pushing so hard on that line. As you have noticed, the regime is at crossroads. You saw Madam Wangadia dismissing the issue and also complaining that we have refused to take this issue out of the media, out of public domain. We shall not stop. We want our people back. You also saw that in its desperate attempt to divert us, the regime, through their RDC in Kayunga, paraded a fake Martin Lukwago, claiming that Martin Lukwago, who has been missing for more than a year, had shown up. Of course, the wife of Martin Lukwago and the children dismissed this fake man. That was not Martin Lukwago. The regime fell flat on their face. We are informed that they are holding on to that man. But the same thing, the same story, as all of you remember, that the military spokesperson presented a man that was burnt, but this time having compromised him to lie that we are the ones who burnt him. We continue to demand for our people. And yes, it is for that reason that we have been moving the world over, calling upon all allies of Uganda in the West to take this gross human rights violation very serious. Thank you very much, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you, we had the opportunity to document gross human rights violations that happened before, during, and after the 2021 elections. And yes, we have a film, a documentary film, that's showing the real picture of Uganda to the international community. Not only that, but we have been knocking on various doors, demanding that the United States, the European Union, and all these other democracies across the world stop dealing with General Museveni as if they're dealing with a legitimate leader. We have singled out those regime people, the high-ranking military officials and officials in other institutions that are involved in gross human rights violations for targeted sanctions. I am happy to report that on top of people like Kare Kaihura, on top of people like Abel Kandiho and Erweru, recently, Biabashaija, who hates prisons, was sanctioned. Now, these sanctions, what do they mean? These people steal money, taxpayers' money from Uganda, and they are rich, they invest this money abroad. That's where they go for medical treatment. That's where they take their children for all that they need. And yes, they treat Uganda as a cemetery. But gladly, with these sanctions, they and their families are sanctioned. They are not only blocked from traveling to those countries, but also their wealth is confiscated. On that list, there are notorious human rights violators like a one Christopher Damulira. Most of you that have been arrested and taken to CMI, you know the role that Christopher Damulira is playing in abducting and murdering our people. So we know that On that list, we have Christopher Damolira, we have people like Rugumayo, we have people like Namanya Napoleon, and all top and middle level, officers in Museveni's government. We are focusing on them, and we are calling on the international community to sanction these people. Probably when they know that there are repercussions for their actions, they will stop these gross human rights violations. The issue I want to address is the recently passed supplementary budget. The regime pushed through their majority in parliament for an additional 3.5 trillion shillings. Now, what is this money for? This money is going to be spent on laughable things, among which are 2.7 billion for supervising the Ghost Lubowa Hospital project. All of you know so much of our money has been stolen through that fake non-existent project. But as if that's not enough, there has been 2.7 million given to supervise that project that you all know does not exist. There is 45 billion shillings put aside to buy a banana peeling machine. Akuma akawata amatoke. 45 billion shillings. There is a 30 billion shillings put aside to help artists and musicians. Now, I am an artist, and I'm not only knowledgeable but concerned in this area. I know that we as the entertainment industry, we need support, but the support is not handouts. We need the policies that will make even the artists in Kabongo, in Kabera Maido, in Gomba, in Rushere, to benefit from a good system, not handouts. I've told my fellow artists time and again that they should not be reduced to beggars. But many of them were arguing that I am bringing politics into music. And they are saying that we should separate music and politics. I want to reiterate my points again, that politics, among other things, is concerned with slicing the taxpayers' money and apportioning it to different things. Ebyobufuzi kwe kugabanyamu sente z'omusolo anyway njabiddamu mu Luganda. So, this is how taxpayers' money is being apportioned. Artists have been demanding for a copyright law that will make sure we have policies that will protect artists, not giving them money. But this time around, because General Museveni believes in, patronage, he believes in bribing, he has put that money aside, which money I am even sure is not going to reach the artists. The artists are only being used to steal money. And before long, you'll see fights in the industry, you'll see divisions in the industry, and yes, you'll see so many of them silenced and compromised to support the regime because they will have committed crimes relating to corruption. Now, that is not the problem. The problem is here. First, there's a problem that out of that 3.5 trillion, 418 billion is going to Museveni's house. Now, this is a man that is already spending 2 billion shillings every day. However, that is not enough. Museveni needs another 418 billion to spend some more. Now, an even bigger problem comes here. On top of the 3.5 trillion, there was an addendum of 55 billion. Now, this sounds like a scandal, and it was important that I communicate it to you, ladies and gentlemen. You remember that in the past supplementary budget last year of 77 billion, members of parliament were each bribed with 40 million shillings. Many of them denied it, but yes, some of them actually spoke the truth that they were given that money. This time they are giving every member of parliament 100 million shillings as a bribe to pass that supplementary. Let me repeat it for clarity. This time the regime is bribing every member of parliament with 100 million shillings of taxpayers' money in order to pass this supplementary budget. Now imagine 55 billion shillings just going out to members of parliament as a bribe. I want to use this opportunity to warn our members of parliament that we know about this and we have broken the news to the population. I have said it many times and I'm saying it today that I will always tell the truth and I will not defend or protect anybody that gets involved in this grand theft. But with that state of affairs, with the way our taxpayers' money is used, now you know, ladies and gentlemen, why our roads are in such a bad state. Now you know why our schools are in such a state. Now you know why the regime is trying to silence us. Now you know why the regime is trying to bring all manner of diversions in order to cover up for that. Now finally, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to take this opportunity to respond to the deliberate twisting of my comments during a BBC interview that I had in London. First and foremost, my words were taken out of context on that BBC interview by those propagandists. I was in the United Kingdom after 10 years. Many of you already know that in 2013, I was banned from the UK for life, never again entering the UK because of the lyrics in one of the songs that I did. And in those lyrics, yes, I took responsibility because I actually called for the banning and the killing of all homosexuals. I took responsibility. And yes, during that interview, I communicated that people grow and transform. And as a leader, I transformed from calling for the death and killing of people that differ from me. Regime propagandists tried as much as possible to twist my words. But again, still stand by my words because I am a leader. Which leader wants to be a leader of all people in the population, even those that are not like me? So I'm not calling for the killing, for their killing. I also want you comrades to know that this issue has been turned from a moral issue to a political issue. The gay issue is used by Museveni's regime to play politics and it's a political weapon. Now, you remember that he's the one that brought the law in 2014 and then through his proxies like Andrew Mwenda and Fox Odoi repealed the law again. Now, whenever Museveni sees that he has no popular or political support, he picks up on something that he thinks will build him once again. You have seen him trying to use it against his opponents, and he continues to use it shamelessly. It's the same Museveni that tries to hook on our morality and on the children and to say it's in protection of children. But you all know that in the schools where our children are getting problems, who is the head of the Ministry of Education? That is Museveni's wife. The same challenge has been faced by many people who are raped and sodomized in CMI. We have had many cases of men that are arrested, tortured, and raped/sodomized in CMI under the watch of General Museveni. However, he again tries as much as possible to twist it around to blame it on opposition. Bango baye myaka 10 maze myaka 10 ngasingira Bungereza. Era kyanneetaagisa kugenda mu court nefuna lawyer njagala okubaza abaloya bange ab'Ebungereza n'abali bakwatagana nabo wano namala genda mu court ne balyoka bajjawo nati eyo. Naye era bambuza ekibuuzo ku BBC ne mbagamba we grow and transform. Abantu tukula. We nayimbira oluyimba olwo ne ngamba babatte bonna bonna nali muvubuka mutonga n'omusayi gwange gucha running very fast. Naye okukyuka okwantukako nti ng'omukulembeze kati kyasobola gamba nti abo mubattirewo. Lwaki? Kubanga omukulembeze ndi mukulembeze w'abantu bonna benzikiriziganya nabo ne besikkiriziganya nabo. Era ng'omukulembeze ne mbagamba tukula ne transforming. So, Ndi proud si luma mbigambo byange ne kati wano nga tuli waka nsobola kibagamba bulungi nnyo nti ng'omukulembeze tusobola kubeera president n'ogamba kakati abo mubakwate mubakomeko omuliro. Ndowooza ogwo gwali mulembe gwa Kabaka Mwanga. Naye era mu mbeera y'emu njagala okwogera ku nsonga ya regime ya Museveni okwata ensonga eyo ey'ebisiyaga kati mu Uganda tekitunulwa nga mpisa nga nsonga ya mpisa za buntu oba nnono, wabula gavumenti ya Museveni ekati ekozesa nsonga za bisiyaga nga weapon, nga kyakulwanyisa kya byabufuzi. Munajjukira nti etteeka ly'ebisiyaga lyaleetebwa era ne liwagirwa nnyo Bannayuganda mu 2014 ne liyita, naye omuntu yennyini yaliisa ate yakozesa Andrew Mwenda ne Fox Odoi okulikola ki, okugenda mu kooti era ne balisazaamu. Era omuntu yennyini kubanga buli walaba nga agweddwako support ng'aleeta nsonga ya bisiyaga era nakomyawo ensonga y'ebisiyaga, era mwennyini mwawulidde nga Andrew Mwenda ne Fox Odoi nga bagenze mu kooti. Andrew Mwenda ye mwogezi wa Muhoozi mu ggwanga lino, mutabani wa Museveni. So nze ndowooza ndi bandisoose kwogera na Andrew Mwenda nga tebannajja kwogera nange. Seetaaga kigamba muntu yenna, seetaaga kubulya muntu yenna ndowooza yange. Mugimanyi mwenna mu ggwanga, temugimanyi? Ndi musajja mufumbo n'abaana bange mubamanyi. Ate n'ensonga endala, abantu bennyini abeekweka mu tteeka eryo ate be basinza okukola ebikolobero ku bantu baffe, okugeza mu masomero ewabeera emizeejo, abannamawulire ababyogeddeko mulabe babakwata nga babasiba. Amasomero ago gakulirwa mukyala wa Museveni, mwakawulirayo abasegu bameka be bakutte mu masomero. Mubalaba bakumibwa Mmundu, bakumibwa SFC. Temubalaba? Temubamanyi? Era nzije wano ntandike boogera. So baganda baffe mwe ba Andrew Mwenda n'abalala sibayinaako lutalo, naye temunteeka mu bintu byammwe. Simanyi oba ensonga eyo saagala nnyo girwako, naye mbadde nyina okimekinga kiriya basebo ne bannyabo. Of course waliwo n'abalala bangi Museveni bakozesa nga ye chance okubuukira ensonga eyo. Nalabye ne bannaffe betulowooza nti tuli mu lutalo lwakulwanyisa nakyemalira, naye nga bangu nnyo okubuukira ensonga ng'ezo. Naye sinabawulira bwe bavaayo kuvumirira bikolobero bituusibwa ku bantu baffe, nga waliyo n'abaana abalenzi abakwatibwa abawambibwa ku CMI. Waliyo omusajja gwe baatulipootingira gwe bayita Isa asiyaga abalenzi ng'ekibonerezo, bakikozesa nga tocha. Mujjukira njagala mugende mulabeka documentary ke bayita A Silent Genocide kye baakola mu Northern Uganda, nga bakwata abasajja ne babali ebisiyaga maaso g'abaana baabwe, maaso g'abakyala baabwe. Regime ya Museveni kati ne kati bakikola mu CMI n'ebirala bwe bityo. So Mwami Museveni alekerawo okwewugusa, ate n'abantu be balekerawo okwewugusa. So nga muzimanyi, mumanyi bulungi endowooza yange, mumanyi bulungi endowooza yaffe, naye ebyo byonna birina okuggwawo nga buli Munnayuganda afunye eddembe lye n'aba confident nga tosobola mukozesa kyatayagadde, nga tosobola munyigiriza, nga tosobola munyoola nsingo. Mwebale nnyo, mwebaliye ddala kumpuliriza bassebo ne bannyabo.
Mr. President, with your indulgence, can I kindly ask my Shadow Minister for Finance to come and clarify on the issue that was the subject of his minority report that informs part of the controversial 50 billion meant for Parliament? With your indulgence, Honorable Mwanga.
Thank you, Mr. President, and the entire party leadership. Now, the subject of 100 billion for each single MP, 100 million. Let me first remind Ugandans, sad as it is, the 3.5 trillion is going to be borrowed. So they are going to borrow 3.5 trillion to spend on things that are not so critical to the welfare of Ugandans, for which the president has talked about. And it's not going to be borrowed abroad. It's going to be borrowed internally. What it also means that the very people who steal our money are the ones going to lend us that money and earn a profit. So that's the first point we need to take from this, sad as it is. And that is the money they're going to give to artists, to whatever, to peeling. So that, the president talked about 45 billion for banana peeling. But that banana initiative in Bushenyi is a permanent resident of every single supplementary that we pass in Parliament. Every year it's there. Every year in every supplementary, you'll find electromarks, which they call dimmed energy. Some of you may not know what dimmed energy is. You'll find, and we are spending, and that's the money that Vitature takes. And the other day was running block. Now, let me go for the 100 million. As you may recall, after Parliament had passed the supplementary, a document was at the tail end smuggled to the Speaker by the Minister of Finance, signed by Matia Kasaija. It had 78 trillion. Out of 78 trillion, it had 55 billion. No, it had 78 billion. It had 55.6, to be exact, billion that was for classified under State House. And listen to this story. State House is the home of a president, not the office of the president. In the normal budget, it was allocated 412 billion. Out of the 412 billion, it had 88 billion for classified. Now, under 3%, they have already consumed another 100 billion under classified. But on top of that, in what we call prior, that require prior parliamentary approval, they asked for 195 billion. It is on the top of that that the 55.6 billion was allocated to the office of the president. Now, this is how it is. The office of the president is the fountain of honor. His residence is the #1 address in the country. It cannot be used for those purposes. It is a shame that now vote 2, which vote is State House, which is only for the home of the president, is the one that where they are channeling all the dirty money. As to what we did in Parliament, we raised the red flag, even on the 77. Now, Mr. President, under State House, we must note, I'll only take you to 2 years. Last year, he was allocated 618 billion for State House. By the end of the year, after consuming numerous supplementaries, he used 913 billion. That is an average of 3 billion per day to run his home. Now, this year, he was allocated 418 billion in the normal budget, which the president has talked about. But he has consumed 100 extra. He has asked for 175 billion extra and the 50 for inverted commas for members of parliament. Now, if we are at the half-year mark, this is December. The budget is still running up to June next year. That means by end of June, he's likely to have consumed over 1 trillion shillings. And we are asking Museveni, does he feed on a buffalo? Does he eat a lion? What kind of meal are served in the State House that consume all those monies that he spends anyhow? So therefore, as the president has urged, we have raised the red flag. But all these MPs of ours and the entire country are elected by the people. Along the way, you will meet them on funerals, on burials, on parties, remind them not to take the money. I thank you.